Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to TARTLE Cast. Junk.
Oh,
All right.
so much junk, bro.
I think this is an interesting
Minimalist.
This is minimalist. This is an interesting metaphor for a lot going on. So, something is of a great hindrance to the space economy.
Mm.
And can you guess what that
The final
thing might be?
frontier?
Yeah, our final frontier. You know, the SS Enterprise or whatever the heck it was, USS Enterprise. What would be its most debilitating roadblock preventing that thing from even turning on its warp drives?
Well, you have one problem.
Well,
You have, even nowadays in our aircraft, I watched, I think it was a Southwest Airlines flight or I forgot who it was, but there was somebody taking a picture because the engine was like on fire and just going like flapping like this.
Great.
On the side of a wing. Of course, only one engine was doing that, so you're fine. But it had a bird strike. And so bird strike is debris.
It's debris.
I mean, unfortunately, that's what they call it. FOD, foreign object damage.
If we look at the data of junk in space, all right, there's 100 million pieces of debris around that number, larger than a millimeter. People are like, a millimeter? Big whoop. What's the big deal? A millimeter of space trash? Well, you got to understand here, it's a low friction environment. It's a low gravity environment. So once that thing starts to accelerate at pace, that thing's hauling. That little millimeter piece of trash is going to rip through the thin walls of whatever space instrumentation, observation, or life-sustaining cocoon is floating around in our low gravity orbit around the Earth. So in order for us to start sending more things up there, Starlink satellites, right, to afford more data to be passed through Earth and better understanding of space and getting ourselves up there, we have trash in the way. Trash, junk, and a lack of understanding of junk is hindering our evolution. So can you give me a little bit about the data points here on the junk itself?
The object's average speed is 17,500
miles per hour?
Miles per hour, yeah. So think about that.
Last I checked, that's much faster than a lot of bullets. And bullets tear through stuff here.
Yeah, in 2020, there are 3,372 active satellites. Now, SpaceX alone, they have approval from the U.S. regulatory to launch 42,000 satellites. He wants to launch 42,000 satellites. So there's 3,000 up there now. SpaceX is going to do 42,000, not counting China's launching them like crazy, you know, because, of course, they want to use their satellites for what? Remember we did a whole episode of, wasn't it for just like watching traffic or something?
Oh, spying.
3,000. Yeah, it's not called that. It's something
and
else.
Viasat's all upset because, you know, Starlink's sending stuff up and they're their competitor. Everybody wants their space in space.
Yeah, there's 3,000 new pieces of space junk created by Chinese anti-satellite weapon that was tested in 2017.
Oh, yeah, blew up.
So they were, 8,000 estimated tons of space junk in orbit. That's tons. 8,000 tons.
Just floating around.
At 17,500 miles per hour.
No, thank you.
That's not floating.
Yeah, it's not floating.
that's like high velocity. What does a 9mm go?
How fast does a 9mm
How fast
bullet?
does a 9mm bullet go?
What grain? 115 or 145? 9mm.
We'll do the standard average 115 grain.
Yeah, 115 grain. All right, let's see here. Ballistics chart.
Does it convert it to miles per hour?
I'm trying to find out. Everybody just
Or if it's kilometers is 28,000, same as 17,500 miles per hour.
It's in feet per second.
Kilometers.
So at 300 yards, it's moving at 800 feet per second.
So 800 feet per second is how many miles per hour?
I know I'm going.
That's not very fast.
I'm going. I can only go so fast. But
This is interesting, guys. This is on the fly. Live. Oh, we don't have TCast live.
No, I know.
Damn,
we'll
have to do it on the next one.
Can somebody just do the damn conversion here?
Yeah, feet per second per mile per hour.
Yeah, FPS.
Because one's a second, one's an hour.
Yeah, hold on. FPS.
To MPH.
Just give me the damn.
Do they even have that calculation?
Okay, 545 miles an hour. I had to do the calculation. I was like, what's the ratio?
So it's going as fast as a jet in the sky.
Uh-huh.
So think about that. This is going 17,500 miles per hour.
And how heavy is it?
Yeah. What is weight in space?
That's like getting all the world's biggest Mack trucks all together in tandem and then making them travel at ridiculously Mach speeds.
So the mega constellations that are launched, these mega constellation satellites that are launched, like SpaceX has them where they're all hooked together and then they just launch them. They're anticipating 3,200 tons of spacecraft is going to burn up in the atmosphere each year.
Okay.
So compared to 100 tons now. So it does burn up, but times the international, there was 3 times the International Space Station had like super close calls last year with this space debris. So this is a problem.
Yeah, but what is the problem? It's not the problem of the space station.
Ooh, are we going to be throwing out like philosophical metaphors right now?
Yeah, here it comes.
Yes.
Here it comes.
My favorite.
The data is in the junk.
Mm-hmm.
Why is there junk? We were not thinking about the full cause and effect of launching things into space.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it like the plastic water bottle. Did anyone consider the cause and effect of creating plastic water bottles and then making them so prevalent all over the world? No. But where are they now? Floating around in the ocean. Fishing nets, right? It's a very commercial item. Where are they? Floating around in the ocean. So we have this junk that pollutes our planet. And then we carry that same mentality of pollution on our planet, which is hindering our evolution down here.
Well, we even eat food. It's called junk food.
It's called junk food. So
we put it in our bodies.
We slow our evolution, right? Mm-hmm. We can really understand human nature through junk. Junk is hindering our evolution and our growth through space, and it's hindering our evolution here on Earth and actually cutting back on the probability of our race's existence, the human race's existence on this planet.
Well, you have 8,000 tons of all this debris and stuff, and it's the same with data.
We do a bad job with waste.
I mean, we just collect so much data, junk data. Is this data even, where did you get this data from? How is it taken? Where,
Here's another thing. The brain, right? Essentially, 90% of the gray matter, junk, but we don't understand it. DNA. Most of it's junk DNA, 80+%. But we don't understand it. There are answers to junk. And physical junk itself floating around in space is a function of human behavior. We've
created the junk.
We've created the junk. Why? What is it in the data?
No. Don't ask that. So here's what they've done.
Okay.
This is interesting.
Tell me.
This plays right into it. So they said, okay, we have the junk. So we need to have situational awareness for it. Here's their solve to the junk. We need to have traffic management, and we need to have better spacecraft design. We're not this is systems. This
Why?
Always, we're not addressing junk.
No,
we're just becoming more efficient to deal with the junk.
I got an idea. Let's make a more bulletproof spacecraft. No. Clean the junk up.
Yeah.
Focus on the junk. The junk is your answer. I don't get why we don't look at that. If we're trying to solve a lot of our climate issues, look at junk.
Because we're way out on the limb of the tree.
It's waste.
Yes.
Where we lack in our human evolution and ingenuity is just making everything a completely open system with so much waste. That's where we do not take the upper part of the crust here. We are just like screwing ourselves with our own junk, with our own waste.
But instead, we want to build systems to say, we don't want to address the junk, but we're going to build systems around it to be able to handle the junk.
You know what it reminds me of? Let's put out seed drones to analyze, how much junk there is. Why are we looking at how much there is? Why don't we just stop it from going to where it is?
It reminds me back in the day, and this isn't as big of a problem now. It still is with dogs. People used to leave the kids in the car.
Yep.
And then unfortunately some bad things happened, and because you're totally reliant when you think about this. So you take an infant or a child, that's 3 or 4, you keep them in a car seat, you put them in the car, you have the car running so the AC is working.
Yeah.
But what happens? You're relying the you're relying on and this used to be a pretty common occurrence, or people just roll the windows down. I remember as a kid, I would sit in a locked car
all the time
with the windows rolled down while my parents would go.
I used to do it.
Yeah, we always did it. So don't think this is crazy. And you'd be sweating
it out.
Yeah, but the window was cracked.
Yeah.
But they had no idea.
No.
They didn't have the data to say, oh, okay, it's 90 degrees outside. It's going to be 120 in the car. When does Jason pass out? They don't know any of that. Yeah, he can handle sweating, but how long?
Yeah.
Am I going to be stuck in here for 2 hours? What happens if the place, there's a fire alarm and the place shuts down and they lock the doors?
Correct.
Well, how long can I last in a car? What happens if the AC goes out and that kid's buckled up in the back of a car seat? Too many variables. You're not dealing with the problem. Now, I could design fail-safe systems around the air conditioning. I can design, I could put cameras in the car where I could watch my kid while I'm in the store, but that's not the problem. The problem is you left your fucking kid in a car.
Bring the kid into the store.
Yeah.
Okay? If the problem's junk in space, stop putting junk in space, right? If you're screwing your earth with waste, stop putting waste on the earth.
Yes.
Your systems suck because you haven't thought about it. Why? You're wasteful in your thought and you're wasteful with material items. That's just what it is.
That's what it is.
That's you are so limited in your understanding of your effect on the earth in its closed system that you create this open system like an open sore and you just let it fester everywhere.
Yeah, and you're, instead of dealing with the infection, you're just putting a Band-Aid on it.
We need to focus on junk, whether it's our junk DNA, it's our junk brain matter, or if it's junk in the ocean or junk in space. Focusing on this tells us about cause and effect and gives us deeper understanding and insights to our own behavior and can unlock our evolution. The data around how much junk we create needs more focus. Your junk thoughts need more focus.
So let me ask you one last question before we close. This is very important.
I'm going to throw my laptop into space.
This is a really important question. How is TARTLE single-handedly cleaning up data?
Companies grabbed everything that they could. Didn't matter what it was. Didn't matter if it had value or no value. We're just going to grab it all. What you've done is you've created this huge pile of junk that you've never looked at, you've never truly understood, whatever it might have been, and it's chaotic, it's all over the place. Well, what happens if we slow down that open system you have and we create a nice closed system with no waste? We can find out directly, efficiently, economically what we need to know, straightforward, without creating all this external stuff that has to happen, and can give us the answers to better understand data. That's what TARTLE's doing. It cleans up that open source mess that's going around, and people are just kind of abusing and creating more waste out of it and making bad decisions, like reinventing a stronger type of rocket to deal with junk, rather than saying, let's go to the source of all this stuff. Let's look at the data. Data doesn't have to get crazy. You don't need a bigger volume of it. You just need more precision.
Yes.
You need more accuracy around what you're trying to analyze. You don't need a whole bunch of stuff to come up with a picture. Just go directly to the thing that creates it. Wouldn't that make the most sense? So that's what we're doing in that context. And a little fun fact, first object to go into space, what is it?
It's Russian, right?
No, in our understanding of human history, no, it's not Sputnik.
Well, it wasn't Sputnik, but didn't the Russians release something into space?
They tried, yeah.
And then
and there was another guy who built these big super cannons.
There was no human in it. It was just and then they put, what was the dog, the Russian dog?
Yeah, it wasn't the dog.
They put a Russian dog in there.
Wasn't the dog. This is great. First man-made object to go into space. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Manhole cover.
Oh, yeah.
How does a manhole cover get into space? Underground nuclear testing.
Oh.
Pressure. They were analyzing a nuclear test out here. They blew something up underground.
That's some heavy space debris right there.
Holy smokes.
Could you imagine that manhole cover going through the International Space Station?
Could you imagine how much force was required to launch a manhole cover
into space
with enough terminal velocity to get it out of our gravitational pull and put it into space?
Why aren't we using nuclear rockets?
Don't say obvious things. I don't know what...
We have nuclear carriers.
Why do you say these inherently
We need to
obvious
ask
things?
Elon. Yeah, I bet he's been asked that before.
Yeah.
So how would I go as a company? I said that was the last question, but this is a good one. How would I go as a company and clean up my junk data?
Oh, clean up your junk data. First of all, you need a tool to help you sift through your nonsense, right? Or figure out what's even worth looking at. So you're going to go to TARTLE. You're going to sign up. You're going to buy some data that will help you understand all your junk. And you're going to get it from the people that are creating the junk. Does that make sense? Because if you can understand the behaviors, the nuances, the specifics, right, of this one thing in a very acute, precise format, you can then figure out where to start to sift through your junk and find your answers.